Thank you. Okay, good evening, everybody, and or should I say, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where in the world you're listening in from. My name is Terry Chiplin. I'm the event director for the US Trail Running Conference, and also for this webinar series. And this webinar series is part of the US Trail Running Conference. We'll get going. We got three excellent panelists for you today. So Tim Tollefson, if you can give everybody a wave there, top left. Yeah, okay, thank you. Briston Rains, bottom left there, and Kim Field. Okay, thank you, Kim. All right, we'll let these guys talk more about themselves in a little bit, but I wanted to just mention our folks that actually presenting sponsor for this marathon for the webinar series and Marathon Printing. Without them, then we wouldn't be able to offer these webinars for free. So Marathon Printing, a little bit of information about them. They're a family-owned company that specializes in producing custom printed items for endurance sports. Race bibs are their most popular item, either custom printed or stock bibs. And Marathon Printing also supplies vital accessories for race directors like pins, bags, and pennant flags, as well as postcards, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, and labels. And they've been a loyal supporter of the US Trail Running Conference since 2015, and are also an event standard partner for our friends at the American Trail Running Association. And we're very grateful to Ryan Zirk and the team at Marathon Printing for their support of this webinar series. And as I said, without them, then we wouldn't be able to offer these webinars for free. So thank you so much for them to help us with that. And our session sponsor for this session is also Darntough, Vermont. Many of you may be familiar with them. They're a unique manufacturer of socks. When I say unique, they're unique in the sense that they actually have a lifetime guarantee on their socks. So there's not many things that I can think of in this world that give you a lifetime guarantee. And so I'm really honored to be working with them and recommend. I've actually got Darntough socks on at this moment. I won't show you them on the screen, but take it from me, I'm wearing them. So really recommend you enlisting in their socks. They're a great brand. So without further ado, I would so please feel free to use that to leave any comments on the way through. Also, we'd encourage you to use the Q&A function. So please feel free to leave any questions there, and we'll work on those as we get through. And if we have any left at the end, then we'll deal with that at that time. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, all right. Briston, can you see the screen okay from your side there? So we got the presentation up. Excellent, thank you. Okay, so big thanks to Marathon Printing and our partners at the American Trail Running Association, and as I mentioned, with Darntough, Vermont for this particular session as well. So housekeeping introductions. We've done that already. We're going to be working through in this order. So Briston's going to lead out. And he's going to talk about some research that he's done about expectation of runners coming to races. Then Kim's going to take over and we'll talk about all things fun running. And then Tim's our anchor man and talking about Mammoth Trail Fest and the amazing event that he's got set up there in Mammoth. So without further ado, Briston, if this is a great picture of you, by the way. Where's this from?
That was from 2021 when I did the Texas Diablo Marathon, the hardest trail marathon in Texas.
Whoa.
That's what that's from.
Cool.
We stopped doing it. We discontinued that race.
It was too hard.
Yeah, it was. We had a lot of issues there, so we discontinued that one. But
well, with a name like Diablo, I guess it's destined for something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty hot.
Okay, so is this after or during or?
This is during. No, this might have been just right before. Yeah.
Okay. So. All right, cool. So Briston, I'll let you take on from here. Interested to hear what you're going to say. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come on here, Terry. So I would say, well, actually, let me start with this. Just about a couple months ago, I graduated from college and with a degree in marketing at Southern Arkansas University. I started a company called Texas Outlaw Running Company 3 years ago out of my dorm room with just a little 5K race idea. From then, we have 13 races year round now all over the state of Texas, with one being in Arkansas. And so, my last semester of college, we had a class called marketing research. And in this class, we had a professor who he does this, he loves doing this. And I think it's something he does on the side outside of being a professor. And so this marketing research we did is really top of the line marketing research whenever it comes to the way we calculated things and how we got to where we got. So within our project, we had to get with an organization and do marketing research for them. Everybody went around college campus doing marketing research with college students, but since I had Texas Outlaw Running, I said, let's look into this. Let's see what makes runners want to sign up for a race and what they expect at a race. And so we got a bunch of research together, and this is what we got. I want to give credit to Madeline Barber and Mia Miller. They are not runners at all. In fact, they do rodeo and like cowgirl stuff, but they helped do this project with me. I got the research, gathered it. They helped dissect it and get to the results that we ended up having. So it was really, really cool how we got to it. But you got to go to the next slide. You could go to the next one too. Okay. So within our marketing research, we had a minimum of 100 people we had to get, because that's the minimum it has to be for it to be, good, valid research. We ended up getting 188 people. A lot of these people, we have some from all over the US, but mainly the vast majority of these people are from Texas. And so when it comes to other regions, other countries, I can't say if that has an impact on the data we received, but this is from the vast majority of people in Texas. We ended up with 188 people. We use different sampling procedures. If you're into statistics, you know what these mean. But we use one-way ANOVA. We tested the homogeneity of the variants, and then they did a bunch of stuff that I honestly have forgot about at this point. But you go to the next slide there. So what we did is we had a questionnaire, and this questionnaire had, I don't know, 10 to 15 questions. We started off with, what type of surface do you run on? Do you run on trail? Do you run on road? Or do you run on both? Then we asked them, what distances do you run? Do you run under half marathon, the marathon, or ultra marathon and up? And so that's how we identified our different types of people and what groups people were in. And then from there, we were able to see what a lot of the patterns and themes were with those different groups of people. And so right here is the raw data within of itself. If you're a statistics person, you can nerd out over this. But this is the raw data. You could go ahead and go to the next slide. You go to the next one there. Okay, so we're going to start with the people, depending on what type of surface they liked, or what type of surface they usually run on. These are the patterns that we saw within using statistics. So those who ran road races deemed chip timing significantly more important than those who ran either trail races or both trail races and road races. And so this one's an obvious. Road people, they care about their times. They want chip timing. People who run trails or run both road and trails, they don't really care about the chip timing. Personally, I use Ultra Sign Up timing software. Works fine, works great. And statistics show that the people that we're serving don't really care about that timing. Those who run trail races deem the race director significantly more important than those who run road races. So the data picked up that people who run on trail surfaces, they think that the race director is very important. Now, obviously, this can go into further research into what do they look for in a race director, but this kind of surprised me, the fact that people care when they're signing up for a race, they care about who the race director is. People who run trail runs care about who the race director is. I'm going to really emphasize that. I'm in a couple of trail and ultra running group chats on Facebook, and recently I saw some people posting about what they want when they look for race directors, and what I saw is they really cared is the race director in it for the money, or is the race director an actual trail and ultra runner that's contributing to the community? Or are they someone who's just in it for the business, right? They care about those things. They want someone who's actually involved in the community out there running with them. Also, which we'll get to this here in a minute, people care about the aid stations. Are you, as a race director, are you just in it for the money, saving cost, having really bad aid stations, or are you going to pour into and make sure that you have really good aid stations and good quality food at those aid stations, right? Um, and so, and then one more thing is people that are really looking at these race directors are looking at the safety plans of these race directors, not the safety plans themselves, but can they trust the race director that if something goes down, that they have a plan in place to go out there and get them, or to go out there and help them out. People care about these things, and they care about who you are, and who the person is putting on these races. So we'll get into some more depth into that in a minute, but I'm going to get to the third point here. So runners on all surfaces types perceive aid from aid stations differently. This one I think is an obvious one too. Of the three, trail runners perceive the type of aid at aid stations significantly more important than those who run road races, or those who run both road races and trail races. So, if you're putting on a trail run, aid station is really important. That's really important. Now, when it comes to road runs, or people who are doing road and trail, they don't really care about the aid station. Those are typically going to be bananas, water, electrolytes. That's all you need, right? So you go ahead and go to the next slide here. So we're going to go into the people who identified by different distances. So runners who run half marathon to marathon distance and ultra marathons deem the type of aid at aid station significantly more important than those who run under half marathons. So people, this one's another obvious one, I think, but it's just cool to see the stats back it up. People who run under half marathon don't really care or don't see the aid station as important as anyone who runs a half marathon all the way up to ultra marathon, right? They don't deem it as important as the people who are running bigger distances do. Runners who run half marathons and marathons deem the date significantly more important than those who run under half marathons. This is pretty interesting. People who are running that half marathon to marathon distance, the date of that race, when that race is very important to them. So, if you're doing a race to where you're doing half marathon to marathon distance and that's it, that's your top, then you really need to plan that race around other races. I think of the Boston Marathon, which I know this is a trail running webinar, but I think of the Boston Marathon, and if you have a marathon that's 2 weeks before the Boston Marathon, people are, they're not going to sign up for that thing if they're trying to go to Boston or something. So just really, whenever you're doing that half marathon to marathon distance, look around at other races that a lot of people are trying to get into, and make sure your race isn't placed on the same date as another big race or near another big race. You could go to the next slide here. So people's willingness to travel, this one had a couple interesting points. So people who are willing to travel 4 or more hours, they perceive the type of aid at an aid station really important. But people who travel 2 or less hours, they don't think that type of aid at an aid station is as important. And which, that's very understanding and I would say obvious. Price is significantly more important than those willing to travel 2 hours or less than it is for those willing to travel 4 or more hours. So if you have a race that's, a very big iconic race, a scenic race, or really just out in a beautiful area, but not a lot of civilization, people don't care so much. Price is not so much of a barrier for them to go and enter into that race. I think of a bunch of runners here in Texas going to Arizona to run a bunch of R Viper races. Just the cost alone to travel that far is a lot of money. People are going to figure out ways to go to those races if they're traveling that far. And so the price doesn't hinder them, but people 2 hours or less, people care about the price. And that's something you have to look out for with, local races. Those willing to travel 2 to 3 hours find the date significantly more important than those willing to travel 2 hours or less, and those willing to travel 4 or more hours. I think this is just one of those crazy wonky statistics. For whatever reason, people that are willing to travel 2 to 3 hours to a race, that date is very important to them. for whatever reason that is, but that's just what the statistics pulled from it. You could go ahead and go to the next slide. So these are some managerial recommendations they made as non-runners, just based off pure statistics. They said if you're doing a road race, you need to do chip timing. We got that. I think that's set in stone there. Since those who run trail races feel that the race director is of significant importance when signing up for races, we suggest that us, or really anybody doing trail races, they focus on networking with trail runners and, really putting your personal brand out there as a race director. I think that's very important. What you're posting as a race director on Facebook, on Instagram, on social media, when you put yourself out there, people who are running trail races are looking at that. But I think this is something that you can gain on. Whereas if you're posting things that are good, encouraging, beneficial to the other people, you can really build a really good trail running community around you. And obviously, we need to do further research. This is just scraping the surface of research here when it comes to trail and ultra running with race directing. We need, to figure out what are these people looking for at these aid stations. They're so important to them. What do they want at these aid stations? You can go to the next slide, Terry. So let's see what they said here. Those who prefer to run trail races should be put on those. Let's keep going here. So it's just basically saying, we need to put an emphasis on aid stations. So, if you have a half marathon or above race and it's a trail race, make sure on your website, you're putting, we have this aid station, we have all the foods that you need, the hot, cold foods, we have sodas. Whenever you have a trail race, make sure you're really emphasizing your aid stations and all what you have at the aid stations, because that's really important to these people. And you could go ahead and go to the next race or next slide. And then this was another really good point. It says, since price is significantly more important than for the runners who want to travel 2 or less hours, you should offer promotions for local runners. So let's say you have this really big race and it's in a certain town. You should offer within the 2-hour radius. It'd be a good idea to offer some type of promotion or a discount for the people that live in that area, because those people that live within that 2-hour range, they care about that price. You got to go to the next slide here. So that is the research presented to all of you. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, there's my email on the screen there, bristonruns@gmail.com. And I can get back to you. If you want me to email you the results from our research, I can do that too. So thank y'all.
Better unmute myself here. Okay, Briston, thank you so much. That was very thought-provoking, and really appreciate you sharing this information. So, am I right in thinking that you haven't shared this to anybody else outside your own Texas Outlook group and the research folks themselves?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the only people that know are my classmates, my professor, my guy who helps me with my races, and me. So I guess this is the first time this is being presented to everyone. So I'm glad it could be presented out that way. So
yeah. Fabulous. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important. I mean, I think statistics, you either kind of love them or you hate them. Where I come from, England, there's a product called Marmite, and I don't know if you guys have any of you have heard about it out there, but it's like you fall into 2 camps. You either love it or you hate it. There's no middle ground. And I think maybe it's like that with statistics as well. Yeah, statistics is really important because it does help us to identify trends and things that are happening. And of course, as we know, then science-based research. Whether we're talking about climate or what folks want to see at races, or nutrition, or coaching and performance, then science is really helpful to us, and statistics can be helpful. So Briston, thank you so much. That was very cool. Okay, all right, Kim. So you're next up. So yeah, sorry, Kim. Before we get on, I just wanted to mention in terms of innovative race ideas, then we're kind of taking three different kind of looks at this in terms of the three panelists that we have. So Kim, I'd love to let your turn now, and please take over. And this picture is you and your race partner, isn't it? I think.
Yes, it is. That's Amy.
That's
We
Amy.
started the company. That's Amy Wertz. We started the company about 9 years ago, and we kind of fell into it, to be honest with you. We come from a sports background, mostly softball, and we were on the coast out in Long Beach, Washington, and the tourist director down there said, "You guys want to put on a race on the beach?" And we're like, "Yeah, how hard could it be?" Boy, we were stupid. It was pretty hard. But as we started building, it's become this big thing. And we put on 23 runs a year. In 2024, we'll do 24 because we do a leap year run, just because it only happens once every 4 years. So we're pretty busy with what we do and how we do it. But we have a real different philosophy than a lot of other race companies out there. For example, we tell people we are that non-competitive company. If you're looking to just have this big competitive event, we're not the company for you. We believe that we're all inclusive. So we take runners, we take run walkers, we take walkers. We have people that are on weight loss journeys. We have people that are like 93 years old doing our events. So it's all inclusive. So everybody has the same ability to win the prizes. And so that's what we're kind of known for. So it looks like you popped up our first slide, and it's about we don't believe that philosophy that for every bad race day experience, for a runner, there's another runner waiting to sign up. We really don't believe that. We believe everybody must have the best possible race day experience. And that starts from the very beginning. Then they click on race roster. If our race roster page is not working well, then that's a problem, because people will start looking at other run groups. I don't know about where you guys are, but there's a lot of run companies up here in the PNW. And so there's a guy just down the road from me, maybe 10 miles, that runs, and that has a run company called Tacoma City Marathon. Or you have the Orca runners and that. So it's really important to us because the pond, we feel, is only so deep. And, we're all fishing from the same pond. So that bad mentality will roll over. They can find something else just down the road, in all honesty. So with that being said, let's go to the next line that you had up there. You're not just a face in a crowd. I spend a lot of time on race day talking, especially if I know you're new. We kind of like do a little highlight. Hey, are you new to our company? And I spend a lot of time talking to them and making them feel welcome and understanding what they're wanting from a race, what they're looking for. And that is a big thing. You're not a face in a crowd. So let's go to the next slide. Oh, we're known as the non-competitive. I already said that. So yeah, next slide. It's not about the numbers. So for us, we look at what a course can hold. What is parking available? And that's all we take. So we have this really unique run. It's a trail run, and we believe we're a good starting point for trail runners, because there is nothing more daunting to say, I want to get into a trail running, but the only thing I'm seeing is a 25K and above. So we do like the 10Ks, the 8Ks on the trails, and give them a really nice introduction to trails. And being in the Pacific Northwest, we have beautiful trails here, so it's fun. So for example, we had one back in July, called Running with Bigfoot. And we actually hide a wooden Bigfoot out there. And we tell people, if you're the first person to bring a selfie back to me with a picture of Bigfoot in it, we'll give you a prize. And it's really funny to watch the people look, because our signs are even geared to that. We have Bigfoot directional signs that we've made. We have a sign in front of this pit toilet that says Bigfoot's bathroom. And so we make it a really fun experience out on the trail. But all we can take is 75 runners because there's some single tracks in there and there's some big cliffs that go down the side. So we know that this is what we cap out at, and that's the way it is. And so we are not about overcrowding that course ever. So next slide. So this is a unique event, this picture event. This is from an event called Run Some More. It is a sunset, sunrise run on the coast about 2 hours from here. And what we do is we line the beach up with solar powered tiki torches. And afterwards, everybody has a s'more kit. We have propane fire pits going, and it just becomes this community and friendships that are made. And we spend the night hanging out, talking, joking around. And then some of them the next morning will get up and join us at sunrise about 1.5 miles north of where we're at here in this photo and run at sunrise. And it's just beautiful. And we came up with the idea of a run. It's the people in this slide that have made this a weekend event. For some, it starts Thursday and goes all the way to Sunday. Some it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it starts with movies and cornhole tournaments and potlucks and conversations around the fire. And it's, our photographer calls it Woodstock of the running community because it's just all shapes, all sizes, all different backgrounds, everything you could think. And we have this great community, and we just love being together, and we've created some lasting friendships along the way. In fact, the guy in the blue shirt is one of our sponsors. So that tells you how well we work with our sponsors in that. So next slide. So we don't tend to follow the trends. So, I mean, I belong to a number of Facebook groups. And, the big trend seems to be like running in Crocs and weird stuff like that. We don't follow trends. Here, a big trend is downhill. And we have a big downhill race coming up, not us personally, but in the area. And they can use that time to qualify for the big marathons, such as Boston or Chicago and that. I'm not a fan of something like that. I think if you're going to qualify, you really should qualify on a course similar, or at least a flat course that doesn't increase your time. So we know that runners have choices, and we create our own events by finding the uniqueness, like Run Some More or Running with Bigfoot. We're actually taking our runners, a few select runners, up to a place north of here to Iron Goat Trail. And it's supposedly one of the most haunted trails in the nation. And we'll talk about it, and we bring up those kind of ideas, like how do we make this unique? So maybe we do a haunted trail. Maybe we do a Bigfoot, showing them something more challenging, something beautiful, and just not a trendy thing. Next slide. The unique areas in the PNW are vast. I mean, we have so many cool things. We can run on the coast, travel less than 2 hours and we're on the coast. Travel 20 minutes and we're at Puget Sound. Go anywhere between a half hour to an hour and we can be anywhere around Mount Rainier. If we really wanted to drive a little bit further, within an hour and a half, we can be in Eastern Washington and do a desert style run. Tend not to do that. There's rattlesnakes over there, so I'm not a big fan. And my team said no. But so we have a lot of unique areas to run. And we have some really unique urban running. So where a lot of you guys have to travel out, we have this amazing urban trail that's 5 miles if you just do the loop, but you start adding some of the inner side trails right here in our community in downtown Puyallup, Washington. So it's looking for those unique areas and having those unique things. So as you know, I can't never pronounce this poor whale's name, had just passed. And it was one of our resident pods that were taken out of Puget Sound. We have partnered with the conservation on about talking about orca recovery and how salmon restoration plays into that part. And what we do is we run up around our fish hatchery so they can see how the salmon restoration plays a part into the ecosystem of orcas. Next slide. Okay, talking about unique trail running. This is in a little town about 40 minutes from here. But this is actually a daunting picture to see this gentleman climbing this hill. You really didn't need it. We just added it. And it's a really cool thing people got to do. It was maybe 20 feet, so it wasn't a big distance they had to climb, but they had a blast climbing it, and they felt like they made this really unique accomplishment. So finding that unique and making it just a really fun event. Next slide. The runner investment. That is huge. We do a lot of surveys. We have a core group of runners that we sit down a couple of times a year with, and we talk to them. And we talk about, what do you want to see at aid stations? What do you want to see in a run? Where do you want to run? Do you want to see more this, or do you want to see more trail, or do you want to see more road? Do you want to see more themed runs like Halloween and mimosa and all that? So giving the runner the voice puts an investment into your business, and they will become, almost for lack of a better phrase, a pseudo owner per se, because we had a run not long ago and we were all sitting at a restaurant afterwards, and I said, oh, so-and-so signed up for the half marathon in October. And she goes, our half marathon? And I remember just thinking, well, it's actually my half marathon, but yes, our half marathon, because they have now taken ownership of this company and they feel like they are heard. They go out and they're like, okay, hey, I talked to this company and they're really interested. What does it take to get them to be a sponsor in that? And they're your best marketing, better than Facebook, better than Google Ads, better than Instagram. They're wearing our shirts in public and they're talking about this unique company that makes everyone feel welcome. Next slide. We believe we must give back to our community. Our philosophy is, if we don't have community, we can't exist. So being that face in the community is important. So we participate in trail cleanups. Our group will go out and clean up a trail before we use it. Or we do a big trail cleanup for Earth Day, and twice a year. And I have an amazing partner with South Sound Running, which is a local running company, very small, that gives us a lot of support and gives us a lot of prizes and funds us in a lot of unique ways. And we do 2 runs that we give back. We do not charge. And what we do is we say, for the amount of money that you were willing to spend on that race registration, we pick a local charity. And a lot of times it's the high school food pantries that need supplies, and bring that, the money you would spend, buy granola bars, buy breakfast bars, all that, bring that to us. And then we give back to the local high school. And in the end, we give away 10 pairs of shoes, a Garmin watch, Theraguns. It's a pretty big prize giveaway. And then the next one is around Christmas. Everybody dresses up like Grinches. We saturate our community in Grinches. And the same concept. For the money you would have spent on race registration, please bring us a new toy. And we give that to the Central Pierce Fire Department Benevolent Fund. And last year we filled up a whole fire truck, the big fire truck, with toys to give back to our community. So giving back is a huge part of our thing. We make sure we're members of the chamber and our faces are being seen as community people. And when you're recognized in the community as doing good things will follow, is our philosophy. Next. Okay, this is out in Wilkeson, and same slot. This gentleman chose not to use the rope, but I just can't show you enough what the Pacific Northwest has in beauty and running around us. And this is really it's like 40 minutes from here. It's right at the base of Mount Rainier, and you can't beat it. Beautiful area, hidden trail. We're always looking for the next hidden trail for you guys to run on. And that's really important to us, finding new places to run, because people get tired of running the same routes every time. Next slide. So to learn more about us, you can contact me directly at allthingsfunsports@gmail.com, or you can check out our website at allthingsfunsports.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions. We have amazing partners you can look at swag is the biggest thing I can talk to you about, having great things. Fortunately, we're very environmentally friendly. And Terry, you have given me a great opportunity this year to jump on the bandwagon about air quality and that wildfire smoke, because right now we are dealing with it really bad in the PNW, and we have fair air quality today, but it's projected to go down by the weekend again. And we just came off unhealthy air. But, go cupless is my biggest thing. Have water, but have them provide their own hydration. And also, ditch the safety pins. We have an amazing partnership at Bib Boards. They're cool. They're specially designed. You can really market your company that way because people are wearing them at other races. And we see our All Things Fun Sports Bib Boards everywhere. So anyway, I thank you for this opportunity.
Cool. Kim, thank you so much. I was so impressed, Kim, when I met you at the conference last year in Mukilteo, and I'm so glad you could join us for this webinar. And it was really you put on. I've just been really impressed with how many races you put on, your connections to the community, but also your courage just in trying new things and different ideas, and just reaching out to me about the air quality, is kind of typical of who you are and what you're about. So kudos to you. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. So without further ado, Tim, your turn. So so good to have you on here, Tim, and it feels like I've known you for a while already, but it's only been like a few weeks really. But
yeah, you've been pestering me a lot, so we've talked a lot. So I think we're old friends now.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And it's kind of just perfect. Everything Briston and Kim just mentioned, well, not everything, but a lot of those things tie right into what I put together for tonight. I guess it's morning time for you guys. I'm over in Europe right now, but I'm Tim Tollefson. By trade, I'm a physical therapist. I've been a runner my whole life, and over the last 8 years, I've gotten into ultra and trail running, and that's kind of given me some opportunities just personally to explore and kind of test out different events all over the world. And then I am new to the race directing venue, which is something that I'm really excited about. Last year, I held my first ever event, Mammoth Trail Fest, up in Mammoth Lakes, California. And it was, it was probably the most fun I've ever had in a running related setting that I've been doing in the sport for almost 25 years. It gave me a deep appreciation for every event I've ever gone to, and made me realize a lot of things that, I wasn't expressing my gratitude to the people that put on the events the way I definitely should have. I think as a participant, it's easy to kind of just get caught up in the flow of things, and we're more vocal about things that we don't like versus the things that we do like. And I think a lot of participants really love the events, but maybe they don't share it with us. So when I was on the other side, receiving all of the, the comments or criticisms or, complaints, that kind of stuff, like it really just hit home that, oh, like that was me. Like I always did that too. I didn't necessarily reach out just immediately and say, hey, thanks guys, that was the best thing I've ever gone to. It was, oh, I had this issue. It's like, oh, okay. So it gave me a deep appreciation for that. So yeah, Mammoth Trail Fest, actually, Terry, go to the next slide. Let's see where I'm at. I think it's, okay, so this was, Mammoth Lakes is a ski area up in Northern California, or Central California, but it's up at about 8,000 feet. And we're a tourist-based economy. So we're really known for skiing. Skiing and snowboarding is our big tourism draw. But I've always dreamt of bringing trail running, like official trail running, to the area. And so after kind of picking and choosing things that I've enjoyed of other races that I've attended over the last decade, I kind of pieced together kind of my dream of what I wanted to share from our community. And so this is our start line of the 26K. And this was in our village plaza. And people started underneath the gondola bridge, and then they headed out onto single track after this. So it was a really fun kind of, unique experience for a lot of people that, don't necessarily get to run maybe more of those like European style races. Next slide, Terry. So basically what Briston and Kim said, if you had taken a word count, I think community was like the number one thing they said throughout both of their talks. And that was paramount as we started our company. That's one of the pillars of what we are focused on. And every time we make a decision, we check it versus, is this good for our community? And that can go a lot of different ways. It can be our immediate community. It could be our greater running community. It could be our global community. So there are a lot of the ways that you can kind of frame or kind of keep this in perspective. But we really try to focus on the community aspect because, as they said, without community, we're nothing. And I think that what we saw in the pandemic was the events that were sustainable were the ones that had deep-rooted communities, because they didn't care. Well, I mean, they cared, but they understood that it was out of the race director's control, and they were still going to support these races that they loved because they were connected. And I think that's something that anyone that's been to those places, like what Terry was mentioning, what Kim was mentioning, the people make the event more than any of us could make the event for them. It's what they bring to it and the way they congregate. And what I've kind of taken from everything every distance I've ever raced at is, the opposite of what Kim puts on. Personally, as a runner, I was very competitive. Like, I always went into things like with that competitive mindset. But what I learned was when my races didn't go well, I would just kind of sulk and go home unhappy, and I would miss out on so many great things that could have been achieved during that weekend. So with Trail Fest, one of our big things was focusing on, hey, we are going to offer the community so many different touch points during this event that even if their big dreams of placing well or just finishing don't happen, if they fail, they're going to feel like they're supported by so many of these other things going on, where they will hopefully leave a little bit more challenged and changed as an individual and excited to come back. So there's so much more than just the running. It's about the community aspect around everything. And so we've kind of designed ours where we have 3 days of racing, 3 nights of activities in the village. And I loved what Kim was saying. We did the same thing. We had movies last year. We had some live podcasts. We had some demos and different things. There's a train coming by. I might lose you for a second. And I had this working theory, and this is where I think what Briston was saying that fascinates me. I had this working theory that I think people are interested in the trail scene, but it's intimidating, and they are turned off by this idea of like, oh, I have to run 50 miles or 100 miles or now these 200-mile races. And so our idea was we wanted to scale it down and offer things that people felt was more approachable. So we have a 3-mile hill climb. It's our 5K. We have a 16-mile race, and then we have a 31-mile race. So we do have an ultra. But I initially had permits for everything longer that you would typically see, but I decided not to go that route because I thought, no, like, we're trying to welcome people into this space. And if they want to then go try a 50-mile, 100K, 100-miler, there's so many good events already out there. They can go find that. But if we can be the vehicle to bring people in, introduce them to the kind of transformative, kind of experiential, kind of just, I don't know, like what we've all had, what we've witnessed in the trail space, that's what we wanted to give to people. And the first year, I actually also had a 5K, or no, a 10K, but like we were stretched too thin, so we couldn't do that. But that's one of our goals, is we want to even have that, where all of ours are mountain races. So we're trying to bring some other events that have lower profile for elevation gain, because we understand that right now our profiles are intimidating to a lot of people, and maybe it's too intimidating. But we're trying to kind of offer that kind of nice buffet of options to people. Next slide, or next thing, Terry. And this really piggybacks on what Kim was saying. Find the awe in what you're offering. I think the awe and the wonder is what connects people emotionally to your event. And it doesn't have to be a big magnificent, I can't speak, magnificent mountain landscape. It could be a county park. It could be a road through, you know, your neighborhood. It could be the beach with a little dirt of grass that you kind of like just poach. I feel like there's an awe everywhere to be seen. It's about you as a director or as a race, figuring out what makes your area special and then sharing that with the people. Because coming into your area, you're the experts and you should share it with them. It doesn't, and each one's unique. And I think, you know, we see people go to Western states and objectively, that is not the prettiest or best trail in the country, but it has history, it has emotion tied to it. And so we all want to go there, or not all, but there are a lot of people that want to go there. But I think everything has awe, so finding it and sharing it is important. Next slide, Terry. This was undercharge, over deliver. This was something that, you know, in our first year, we wanted to make sure our runners' experience was top notch. And to do that, I basically just gave things away for free. You know, I told all of our vendors, like, hey, we just want you to come. We want you to be part of it. We're going to try to make this the best experience we can for people. You know, we gave away probably 20% of our entries to people for free just because we were trying to get people to come and experience it. And then our goal was, hey, we want to give you this great experience. And hopefully that means that you will, one, want to come back, tell your friends, because as Kim was saying, and like, you know, social currency, the spread of word of mouth is more powerful than taking out ads on Facebook or, you know, advertising on Ultra Sign Up. And I think if you can build that social currency from your word of mouth, your, you know, your actual community, that's going to be much more powerful. So our goal was, we just wanted to like over deliver on everything. We wanted people to feel just probably to that, the point above it, like, they're like, oh my gosh, like, that was an amazing weekend. I can't wait to go back next year. So like they pin us on their calendar and hopefully they return. Next slide, Terry. This was one of our Lamont King, one of our runners. He traveled from Sacramento to us, and it was about a 5-hour drive for him, but he did not want to miss out. And this was on the climb up towards the summit at about mile 18 of the 50K that he completed. And then the day before, he worked one of our aid stations the entire day. And that was one of those cool things that and I think everyone's probably seen it, like you get these people that come, especially if you are a destination area, if they're around, they want to be engaged. So like using them as volunteers and then hopefully offering them something in return, a free entry or whatever your business is able to do. I think that's a great way just to stay even more connected. But yeah, Lamont, he's coming back this year. We actually offer a triple race. It's called the Triple Crown, where you can do the 26K on Friday, the 50K on Saturday, and then the hill climb on Sunday. It's 50 miles with quite a bit of elevation gain, and he signed up for that one this year. Next slide, Terry. Okay, so you got to tell your story. Like, and I really think it's important for all of us to think about our why. Like, you know, kind of picture the best brands in the world, like Nike, Coke. I'm bad at this. Briston would be way better. He just graduated with a marketing degree. But like Nike, you know, Apple, they are master storytellers. They tell something, they tell us what we need when we don't even need it, but then we connect to it emotionally and we can't give it up. And I almost feel like with running it's more genuine, because I think everyone could use running or walking, but sometimes they need to be reminded of it. They need to be nudged into it and recognize that, hey, this is doable for everyone. You don't have to run mountains. You can run the lake path. You could run the park. You could walk your city street. But I think determining like why we're doing this is important. And part of this is going to really dictate the shape of, or which direction your entire company or the events are going to take. And for us, a big part of our why was we wanted to use our race as a vehicle to meet newcomers into the trail space and educate them on things that we want to hopefully not get lost as our sport develops over the next decade. And one of that thing was the stewardship and sustainability. So on Saturday in the village, prime time for the weekend, we had an entire evening dedicated to just like stewardship, and we had Runners for Public Lands, a nonprofit organization, our local nonprofit Friends of the Inyo that protect our forest, and then Footprints Running Camp. It's a nonprofit that connects runners with initiatives that are trying to basically change the world. We gave them the entire evening to talk, discuss, show a film about water rights and our issues that we struggle with in California. As Kim mentioned, fires. If anyone knows anything about California, we get smoked out every fall. Actually, my first 2 tries at holding Trail Fest got trumped because of the smoke. But so we use that, and it's like, hey, maybe runners don't want to hear this, but I think it's important that we share it. And that's our why. Like, we want to educate the people of, if we love these spaces we're recreating in, then we have to protect them. You know, we don't all have to be activists, but we have to at least acknowledge what we're doing has an impact. So, you know, that was a big why for us. So it was something that we really spent a lot of time on. Next slide, please. So capturing the content, and then my next one, actually, you could hit the next one also, Terry. Capture the content and spread the gospel. You know, for me, I realized that I've been to some really cool events and no one's ever heard of them. And if that's their why, that's great. But if they want to be known, you have to tell your story. You have to get this out to people. And so a big initiative for us was, we captured a lot of content of the weekend. We wanted to be able to tell the story of what we were doing and what we're working towards. And then we shared that with people immediately afterwards on social, or during on social media, afterwards in different publications and on social media, and just kind of, you know, some different grassroots channels. But we found that was very powerful. We had, you know, an incredible amount of impressions from our reach. And what it allowed us to do also was then revamp our website with that content we captured, so that we could then really tell the story to our partners in the future and the other runners that hopefully will want to come and take a chance on us and experience it. Because I think really we do have to market ourselves and be able to tell the story of why we are different. Like what Kim was saying, what's going to make you unique? You know, what's putting you different? Like, so if we can show that, hey, on this run, you get to go out and find Bigfoot, and like, you know, if we can really kind of capture that emotion of like someone searching for him through the trees and they find him, and like that, like excitement, like that's going to connect with people and be like, hey, I want to go do that. Like, hey, maybe I'll get my husband to sign up with me and we'll go. So I think it's really important that we kind of gather that content and share it. But on the flip side, if you want to keep it small and we can't, or like Kim said, we have 75 people max, we're not going to go over that because cognizantly, like it's not safe for anyone. Then, you know, be thoughtful with how maybe you disseminate your information. But I think it is important that we do share our stories of what we're doing, and also to the point like of what good we're doing for the communities. I've learned as I get more into the kind of the environmental protection spaces that historically runners, we do a really poor job of being advocates. The people on 2 wheels, mountain bikes, dirt bikes, 4 wheels, they show up to every single town hall meeting. They show up to every single thing, the initiative. They bark and they scream. But trail runners, I think historically, or road runners, I can definitely speak for them, we don't do that kind of stuff. We just kind of think, hey, we just go out and we use our spaces. But I think we could be, you know, collectively have a very large voice, be powerful in hopefully protecting these spaces that we love, or pushing maybe forward some social issues that we want to see, or the changes in the sport we're hoping to see happen. Next slide, Terry. I think, Terry.
Hello, sorry, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I may have timed out. Next slide. So this was one of our local guys. He actually works for the Forest Service, and his wife and their 1-year-old baby did our hill climb, which was really fun. And a lot of what we were trying to do is make it as inclusive as possible. And you know, my buddy, the photographer Josh Ray, that caught this, is like, that's such a great shot. Like, you have this baby under the sun, smiling. He's climbing his first mountain with his parents. Like, that's a powerful image. You know, it's something that they as a family can reflect on, and also we can just share it with our community from everyone that came and be like, hey, yeah, this was a family affair. You know, and to that point, you know, we also we promote the high level competitive side of the race and the back end, you know, because that's something I've loved about traveling to marathons or road race or ultra marathons is, you know, you can have both. I think that's what makes our sport unique, where we get to line up next to, you know, the legends of the sport, but also with the first timer sharing the exact same start line on the exact same day. Like, we don't differentiate. Sure, one person finishes 20 times faster, but we all go through the same struggles out there. And arguably, the people that take longest go through more struggles mentally, because you're out there exponentially longer than the person that covers the distance quickly. Next slide, please, Terry. Actually, just hit all 3. Okay, so I I say dream big. Like one of my philosophies was just say yes to everything. Terry asked me to do this and I said, sure, why not? Like, yeah, I'm over in Europe training for a race, but I'll find some time. I'll make it happen, because I feel like it's important, back to that community standpoint, we share our knowledge with people, because you don't know where that's going to lead. It might just plant a seed and impact someone, and then they take that nugget and they do something really cool. Or you might learn something like, what I just learned from both Briston and Kim on this talk. You just don't know what you're going to be exposed to. And I was the second one, build mid-flight. I likened Trail Fest to, we were building the plane while flying. Like, I did not know what I was doing. I knew where I wanted to get to. Like, I had good intention. I like had all these ideas of like what we want to do, what we want to offer. But it's like, I'd never put on a race. I had never gotten a permit, all these things. But it's like, you know what, like, let's just go. And early on, I had some people offer to like basically take over and do it for me. But I'm like, I kind of want to get my hands dirty. I want to learn how to do this, and so I kind of like challenged myself and our team to, hey, let's just go for it. Let's build a plane. We might crash, but hopefully with the best intention, our community supports us. And the way we're going to lift them up when they crash at the aid stations and want to drop out, they're going to lift us up if we make mistakes. And that comes to my last one, the fail forward. It's something I really like of like, hey, we're all going to fail, but what are we going to do about it? Like, are we going to fail backwards or forwards? And it's funny that Briston started with the aid station. That was one of my biggest fails last year, because as a competitive runner, I was thinking more that road marathon. Oh, I'm just going to grab some gels and some like electrolyte, whatever, in the aid station. Like, and so I packed our aid stations. I would give it like a C plus, maybe. I thoughtfully put what I thought, like, salt and all these things, but I wasn't thinking about the experiential aspect of it. And so we got a lot of comments on the feedback that like, hey, like all these things we should have done. It's like, if we have a 12-hour cutoff, people are going to be taking 12 hours. They're going to want burritos. They're going to want grilled cheese. They're going to want quesadillas. They're going to want all these things that I did not prepare for. But it's like, hey, I'm going to learn from that. And then next year, we're going to have a much better experience for our runners. But I think that's something that's like, hey, you just got to kind of learn from it. And hopefully you make those changes and move forward. But something that's really cool about our race is, it's, like I said, we're a tourist-based economy where winters are kind of hit and miss these days, and shoulder season is September. That's when we hold our race. So our goal is we're trying to bring people to the area to help all of our local businesses, all of our local agencies, and people that normally get laid off for several weeks. If we can keep them employed, this is a great thing. So in year one, we had about 500 people, maybe 600 people show up. This year I capped us, but we have over 1,500 people signed up. And, so it's like showing that people enjoyed it. They want to come back. A lot of those are returners. And it's something that we want to be able to share with more and more people. So we're looking at ways to do that. But I just think it's, trail running is such a powerful way to connect with our community, make a difference. We were able to adopt a couple of the local trails for maintenance. We gave all of the high school kids free entries to our hill climb, which was really cool. We had about 40 high school kids show up and do that. So I think there are just really cool ways that we can use this vehicle to be good in our community. And back to what Briston and Kim said, community. I think that's what really drives a lot of us. And if we can keep tapping into that, it's what's going to sustain us through all these future challenges and struggles. Okay, I rambled. Sorry, Terry.
There you go.
And that's our last slide. This is we took over the Village Plaza for the evenings, where we have films, podcasts, and demonstrations or different panel discussions.
Cool.
Brilliant.
Tim, thank you so much. I love the way you elegantly kind of weaved everything together and put it included it in your presentation. So a few comments here on the chat. So Paul Jurison, and if you're still out there, Paul, then great to know you're there. He says, overall participant experience is paramount. Key to understand what they want. So yeah, I think we're definitely ringing some bells here. And Mandy Hansel, and good to know you're out there, Mandy, this evening, or this morning for you probably, but she says, love that. Building the plane as we are flying it. Exactly what I feel like. And I think having listened to the three of you, then, I think you could probably apply that to all three of you. Really, Briston, I've been thinking about that session you did with the webinar last year with Craig Thornley. He was just blown away by kind of how you just got things going. And then Kim, you've got a question here. Tim, are you able to tap into the lodging tax to offset cost? So that's a really really valid, important question there.
Yeah, and I guess like not directly, but our tourism board has a special event funding that they offered that I applied for. So I got some of that funding, which is funded through kind of that tourism tax or the lodging tax, which is kind of all lumped together. But I guess real quick, something I learned is it never hurts to ask. I basically started just asking everyone for everything, and you get told no, but that's the worst that can happen. So like, why not just try? I would ask everyone like that would listen, and I'd tell them our story. I'd pitch the idea, and if they said no, that was great, and then I move on to the next person. And I can't tell you how many times I had to Google search different terms that I'm sure Briston has by memorized that like I had never. I'm like, what's the P&L? What are all these? And like, so I just like had to learn all these things. But it's like, hey, Google's a very friendly teacher.
True. Good point. Okay, brilliant. Before I just want to say a quick mention here. Thank you everybody out there for your participation. Big thanks to our three panelists here. Here at USTRC. So 4 weeks from now, and it's on creating a culture of respect for women on the trail. And mentioned for the US Trail Running Conference, we've got mid-range pricing available now, and October the 18th to the 20th. And Tim, I know you're going to be there. Kim, you're going to be there. Briston, putting you on the spot now. I don't know. Are you still in the air?
I got a football game I'm going to with my family on the 21st, so maybe.
Oh, maybe. Okay, we'll give you a 1-day pass, and you can come Wednesday, Thursday.
All right.
There we go. All right. So thank you, everybody. Thanks again to Marathon Printing, our webinar series sponsors, and to Darn Tough Vermont for the sponsorship of this particular session. And just a word for, I don't know how many of you have seen it, but we've just announced a contest with Darn Tough Vermont. So we're running a contest for race directors. And the idea is that if you're a race director and you're kind of using innovations in terms of sustainability and reducing your carbon footprint and reducing waste and so on, then the contest is really geared for you. So we're looking to basically reward 3 final race directors for their innovations in terms of sustainability. And if you go to the, actually, I'll send out the information on the link with the recording from this session today when I send it out to everybody tomorrow. So look out for that information coming across. And without further ado, I will say thank you. Remember, there's just a lot more about putting on races than just the running. And thank you to our 3 panelists today for helping us remind us that community is so important, and so many other pieces that are important in this puzzle as well. So thank you again to our panelists, and I'm going to stop the share, and there we go. Okay, I'm also going to stop the recording.